Well, hey everybody, and welcome to Oshkosh and AirVenture 2022. And boy, is it good to be back. You know, there was no show in 2020. Last year, COVID kind of limited the show. But as Sean D. Tucker would say, we're back, baby.
That's right. You know, it's been since 2018 since I've been at AirVenture, and I was so happy to be there the first part of this week that I actually had to grab this photo behind me to set it as my backdrop, kind of missing AirVenture a little bit right now that I'm back home. But boy, was it good to be there.
Yeah, you were here earlier, but I guess you had to get back to the kiddos, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and actually what you did is not all that unusual. A lot of folks will fly in, they call Wednesday and Thursday their big turnover day here at AirVenture, because some folks will fly in for the front of the week and leave in the middle, and then other folks will fly in on Thursday and Friday and be here for the weekend. So yeah, it is a wonderful show. Everybody seems happy. We've got wonderful weather. And oh, by the way, this is also the 75th anniversary of the U.S. Air Force, which of course they're celebrating here. So we may have a little bit of noise interrupt our show today, but hey, it's the sound of freedom, right?
That's right.
And if you want to know what's generating the most buzz at the show this year, well, incredibly, it's the Vans aircraft RV-15. You know, the crowd cheered as the airplane made its first public appearance at the Vans booth. The kit-built airplane is Vans' first high-wing design, and it was designed with backcountry flying in mind. At the show, Vans finally released some of the key details about the airplane that they've been teasing us about, including what engine it has.
On the nose of the airplane is a Hartzell 80-inch Trailblazer constant speed composite prop, and it's attached to, under the cowls, an IO 390 EXP 119 engine from Lycoming. The best way I can describe that combination in terms of what I've seen and what we've talked about is this thing's a beast, right? It's a lot of pull and a lot of power for a relatively light airplane. And we're pretty excited about what we've seen and what we've learned so far in the initial flight. And as we continue to fly, I'm pretty confident it's going to continue to fly.
Now, the prototype airplane also has shocks that are hidden inside the airplane, massive 50 degrees of flaps, and enough cargo space to fit a bike in the back. And Vans is still flight testing the airplane, so they have not released any performance data or said when the kits will be available for purchase. You can see more about the RV-15 on our YouTube channel. Now, something else really exciting to see around the grounds here are the numbers of young people, and particularly young women. You know, it seems like a lot more than previous years. Now, AirVenture does give free admission to anyone younger than 18, thanks to Boeing. But it seems like a lot more 20 and 30-somethings as well. Did you notice that, Alyssa?
You know, Warren, I did notice the same thing. And, you know, maybe it's due to the aviation job market being so hot right now. We're really seeing a lot of aspiring professional pilots, universities, and aviation companies at Oshkosh. So how hot is the market? Well, Boeing released this week its Pilot and Technician Outlook 2022 to 2041, and they forecast demand for 602,000 new pilots, 610,000 new technicians, and 899,000 new cabin crew personnel globally over the next 20 years. Now, meeting this demand is top of mind for Boeing. They had a huge presence at AirVenture.
You have to expand the pipeline. And to do that, you have to go attract people to aviation that never thought it possible. And they didn't think it was possible because of one, finances, or two, where they grew up, they didn't know any pilots.
Now, some of the youth who came to AirVenture included members of the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals like Connie Gutter.
Since a really young age, I've loved traveling, and I realized that I could be a commercial pilot for some of the big airlines, and that really is my end goal.
Connie is interested in attending an aviation university on the West Coast. Now, AirVenture offers Connie and other aspiring pilots the perfect opportunity to visit with schools in the Aviation Gateway Park.
This past year compared to 2015, we've seen a 40% increase in our enrollment over that time. We're at the point now, though, that we have had to institute a cap on enrollment and actually start to reduce it a little bit to maintain the quality of the program so that we can continue operating into the future. But we're operating right now. We have 100 aircraft And our student enrollment, I think we have 12 to 1,300 students on the flight line.
The commercial aviation industry has worked to make the pathways to these careers clear for students.
We are really excited about all of the students that are starting this fall, and we just see all kinds of enthusiasm for building aviation professions, and we're here to make them professionals and go out and serve all of these big needs in the market.
And the youth at AirVenture this year, they have the perfect opportunity to really get started off on the right foot.
And you know, Alyssa, one member of Congress is stepping up to try to solve the pilot shortage. Senator Lindsey Graham is introducing legislation that would raise the mandatory retirement age for airline pilots to 67 from 65. The retirement age was last raised in 2007 from 60 to 65. One of the pilot unions, the Airline Pilots Association, is opposing that bill. Another huge issue facing our industry is the need to find an alternative to leaded avgas for those big Continentals and other high compression engines. Earlier this week, there was a forum on the transition to an unleaded fuel. Now, that's something that AOPA has been working on for a good number of years.
We're not here to protect or kind of pick one favorite channel or process. We're here to figure out how to get across the finish line as soon as possible, not wait until 2030. So I think if you leave here with one thing in mind, this industry is committed to moving forward to an alternative fuel as soon as possible with the best and most safe solution.
AOPA helped form the EAGLE Coalition, that's Eliminate Aviation Gasoline Lead Emissions. It's a very broad coalition that includes industry and the FAA, but getting the lead out is not an easy thing to do.
There's been, I think, a lot of misreporting out in the press that, one, that there's some alternate universe that people live in to say that the association wanted to perpetuate the length of this process long, which I'm sitting there going, we're spending big dollars of our members' dues, whether it's Jack, you all members of EAA, AOPA, my membership, we're spending big bucks trying to work this problem. There's also been criticism, well, there's taxpayer dollars being spent. I go, well, hell yeah, there is taxpayer dollars being spent. We go and lobby for those extra dollars. Why should the sustainable aviation fuels to take care of the turbine guys get a whole bunch of appropriations from the United States Congress to fix the jet fuel problem, and we don't get any support out of Department of Energy and others that can help us to be able to solve this gigantic problem? You saw all the tentacles that are out there just on the fuel distribution system in that. So yes, there are federal dollars that are going for that, and what we all work together for is to be able to adequately fund that each and every year to be able to plus up the FAA's budget, because they have to be able to test. And then our manufacturers are spending a whole bunch of in-kind dollars to be able to do testing. So they're providing engines, they're providing airframes to do what Walter talked about with the materials compatibility testing. So there is an awful lot of money having to be devoted toward this whole effort.
Now, if you want to get a better idea of everything that has to happen to get us to an unleaded future, check out the forum at the link in the upper corner, or it's down in the description as well.
Well, Warren, some important news actually broke right before AirVenture, just after we did last week's show. The FBO fee transparency is a high priority for AOPA, and we've been working on that for 5 years. We think you should be able to know what charges you're going to face before you go. And the nation's largest FBO chain, finally, Signature, has made its fees public in our airport directory. So now you can know before you land exactly what fees are going to add up that you're going to have to pay when you taxi onto the FBO's ramp. Now, AOPA President Mark Baker is pleased with the progress, but
we won't be satisfied until we get them all, and we don't think it's just silly in today's world not to post your prices online so that the pilots can make informed decisions. It's just, I can't think of another category that people purchase anything in without knowing before you go or having to make a phone call to find out what's going to cost today. Most of us don't have flight departments that are owner operators and have the time to call around to find out what all these prices are. So it's an informed choice. I understand FBOs, and by the way, most of them do a really great job, and most of them are fair and doing the right thing. But if you don't find that value and that that pricing, you can make a different decision. That's all we're asking.
Well, we're still working hard to get some of the other FBO chains like Millionaire on board with fee transparency. You can learn more about this on our website.
Well, and returning back now to Oshkosh, AirVenture is truly an international event. There are visitors from all over the world here, and of course, aircraft too. For example, a trio of Sling aircraft made one heck of a trip to get here. They flew all the way from Johannesburg, South Africa to Oshkosh. They arrived with great enthusiasm from Sling employees and other enthusiasts. Now, the aircraft are all new Sling high wings, the first in the U.S. Linda Solars is the first customer for the high wing, and she traveled all the way to South Africa to build her airplane before flying it back to the U.S. The high wing Sling fits perfectly into what she was looking for in a new airplane.
I knew Sling, I knew their product, I knew their 2 and their 4, knew I loved the performance and the capability and the quality and the sturdiness and the people, and that they were very serious about making really great handling aircraft, and I just knew they'd make a great one, and I was completely right. So here we are.
The Sling High Wing is powered by a 141 horsepower Rotax 915 IS turbocharged engine. It seats 4 and cruises at 145 knots. It burns around 7 gallons of fuel per hour. You can get it in a nose wheel or a tail wheel configuration. And speaking of flying long distances, Juan Martin Escobar and Guillermo Casamayo are on the adventure of a lifetime. The longtime friends flew a Vans RV7 they built from the southernmost city in South America, that's Ushuaia in Argentina, all the way to Alaska and then to Oshkosh, enjoying all kinds of amazing scenery along the way.
This is flying a dream. It's amazing. We are very happy that this come true. This dream come true. It's very nice. Building an aircraft is very nice. Flying your own aircraft you build, and it's very nice. You can fly around the Americas. Joining the Americas in this little machine is freedom. Yeah.
Now, these 2 young pilots are also studying the effects of climate change during their flight. They have an ethylometer, that's a new word for me, on board, which measures carbon particles in the atmosphere. You know, listen, both of those trips worked out to be somewhere in the vicinity of 8,000 nautical miles. You know, well, that would be the Great Circle route, and obviously neither of them flew Great Circle, but I mean, just think about it. A lot more than 8,000 nautical miles in those 2 airplanes.
Yeah, that's a lot of time sitting in an RV7. But, you know, when they swung by to talk to us and tell us about their adventure, they were just so refreshed, so excited, and sharing fabulous pictures from along their route that that is the flight of a lifetime for so many of us.
Indeed.
Yeah. Well, Boeing is working to make air transportation more environmentally friendly, and that's what their eco demonstrator is all about. They brought the big 777-200ER to AirVenture. The aircraft tests around 30 projects to make aviation safer and more sustainable. It flies on a blend of sustainable aviation fuel, or SAF is what you usually hear it called. Boeing's goal is to decarbonize aviation by 2050. Now, it was opened for public tours earlier this week. I'm going to tell you, it was the main attraction on Boeing Plaza. The line to get in the Boeing Eco Demonstrator was longer than the aircraft itself. Now, there were several other headlines being made at AirVenture this year with new airplane debuts, and that includes Dare unveiling the new Kodiak 900. Kodiak is known for the rugged backcountry turboprop Kodiak 100. Well, the 900 has a stretched fuselage, a more powerful engine, and extra luxury. It cruises at 210 knots, and that's 35 knots faster than the Kodiak 100.
It definitely has the heritage of the Kodiak line, just with a little bit more refinement, a little bit more luxury, and certainly a lot more speed.
The Kodiak 900 was certified by the FAA last week, and the company says deliveries will start next year. Now, good news for everyone, the Kodiak 100 is still going to be available for sale. Now, bigger doesn't always mean better performance. we came across a super small, light, and capable aerobatic airplane. It's called the Revo. It has an empty weight of just 500 pounds. Now the prototype is powered by an 80 horsepower Rotax 912 engine. It was created by aerobatic design sage Eddie Sauerman. The goal for the kit-built airplane is to deliver extra 300 performance at a fraction of the cost.
And Electra Aircraft brought a new Part 23 airplane to the show. The French company is introducing the two-seat airplane to the U.S. market. The carbon fiber airplane can be ordered with a 100 horsepower Rotax 912 IS engine or a turbocharged Rotax 915 IS. Noteworthy features include what Elixir calls its one-shot technology, a process that allows its airframe to be built with fewer parts and assemblies using large one-piece carbon fiber elements. The company is taking deposits now. The company estimates pricing between $300,000 and $400,000, depending on the model. Alyssa, some folks here have been complaining about that price, and they're saying that much for an LSA, but what they seem to ignore is that this actually will be a Part 23 certificated aircraft. So, yeah, the price is steep, but, it is a Part 23.
Well, the new owner of the AOPA Sweepstakes Tiger has the keys.
All right, here we go. The team even put a bow on it for you.
You'll remember Alex Brown was surprised in his hangar by AOPA President Mark Baker with the good news. Well, he flew out to Oshkosh to get the keys, a checkout, and take his airplane home. He and his wife are excited to have an airplane as a family hauler.
Just seeing the glass panel and everything that Garmin has done is really kind of just blown me away. So.
What kind of flying do you think you'll do with it now that you see it and see how capable and well equipped it is?
A lot of family traveling. Hopefully we'll have a car seat in the back for this little guy.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to building some hours, right, Cal? Huh?
You gonna learn to fly in this, Cal?
Yeah.
You gonna do your first solo in the Tiger someday?
A couple more years, maybe. Yeah.
Alex said the restraint to be at AirVenture for more than a day and wait until our cameras were rolling to capture his reaction. Well, look for more on this introduction to his Tiger at the link on the screen.
Well, besides giving away an airplane and AOPA Pilot Town Hall, it's a chance for Mark and other AOPA leaders to give you an update on the state of general aviation, all the things that AOPA is working on. Now, you can watch the full update on our YouTube channel. Now, one of the issues Mark talked about was the success of Basic Med.
You've heard about the Basic Med, for my now 9th year here as the CEO. We don't have to talk about that too much anymore. But what a big win to have 70,000 of you flying under Basic Med. Give you a round of applause because you're doing it safely first. Everybody flying under Basic Med.
Yeah.
Round of applause.
We also had an update from Richard McSpadden of the Air Safety Institute on about how general aviation is doing on safety. In short, we're doing pretty darn good.
First, I want to thank everybody here for the year that we had in fiscal year 2021, because, Colin, to your point, it was the safest year we've ever had in general aviation by a long shot, if you measure it by fatal accident rate, which is our primary indicator. And we were some 25% safer year over year and better than the best year we've ever had in fiscal year 2021. We had a phenomenal year. And all that does is reflect on the way that you are flying your airplanes, maintaining your airplanes, keeping your knowledge safe, and then establishing that whole cultural piece of engaging with people and having the conversations that make it safer.
And another big announcement from the meeting, the formation of our 200th Flying Club.
This is a fantastic club, and what's really fun about this club is there's a sort of three-part story to it. It's a wonderful story about an aeroplane, about an airport manager passionate about getting activities running in his airport, and a group of local pilots who really wanted to pull it all together to do that.
The AOPA Flying Club's team is here to help folks with everything they need to know to form a flying club. And of course, we think flying clubs are a great way to make flying more affordable and to help more folks get into flying.
Well, tied down right next to the Tiger Sweepstakes airplane is our next sweepstakes. It's a Cessna 170B. I gotta tell you, same model as what I have, same year. It's a great airplane. Tons of Cessna 170 owners have stopped by early in the week to take a look at it. It's already a solid airplane, but we're gonna do so much more to it, really make it a backcountry performer. Now, one of the questions that we got frequently, Warren, which surprised me, is, are we going to put it on floats? Well, I don't think so. I think we're gonna stick with Tundra tires. It must have been thinking back to a few years ago when we gave the Super Cub away with 3 different sets of landing gear. And then the second question we get is, how can I get more entries? And so automatic annual, renewal, and life membership is a great way. You get 5 extra entries for that.
Right, and of course the sweepstakes rules say that there's also an alternative entry where you can send in a postcard. All of the rules are on our website.
Yeah.
And by the way, Eric Webb, our social media team, had the great opportunity to fly the 170 into AirVenture. Here's a little bit of his adventure. Okay, so you got to fly this baby into Oshkosh. What was that
absolutely.
like?
It was a lot of fun. So I got to be honest, the plane at first was intimidating. It's got these spring steel landing gear. And I thought for sure, being used to a Super Cub with that nice soft landing gear, that I was going to bounce it all over the place, which I did. So I've been told it's a little bit of a handful when you're landing, which it is. But as far as in the air, I mean, it handles great. It handles a lot like a 172. Most of us are familiar with that kind of aircraft. Maybe a little slower than a 172. But a ton of fun. The tail wheel experience for me is just so incredibly fun. It's challenging, and honestly, I think it makes me a little bit better pilot.
So, which dot did you have to put it on?
I was supposed to put it on the yellow dot when I got here. It said on or after the yellow dot. I put it down after the yellow dot, so I was still following instructions, and got off at the first taxiway. And just out of curiosity, I reviewed the footage from my GoPros and then looked at Google Maps, and I had it on the ground and off on a taxiway in 325 feet. So I felt pretty great about that on my 10th landing in this plane. I'm going to say it's more about the airplane's capability than my skill.
And we'll come back to Oshkosh in just a moment.
My name is Rick Bossart, and I have a private pilot license, single engine land, IFR, as well as about 1,800 hours of flying time. I currently own a Cub Crafters NX Cub. I fly from Arizona, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, California. So if I compare what I used to fly with, ADS-B, and now SiriusXM Weather, the most striking difference to me is the reliability and the ever-presence information that SiriusXM Weather gives me. I don't have to worry whether the data is old or not and whether it's going to cut out or not. Last summer in Idaho, there were severe fires that were coming up all over the place right in the middle of our trip. We would see TFRs that weren't there minutes ago and things that were ever evolving and changing quickly. And knowing that we had the most current information before we popped up and potentially popping up into a TFR was extremely valuable.
Welcome back to Oshkosh and AirVenture 2022. Some sad news from the show. Tom Poberezny passed away shortly before AirVenture opened this year. Now, as many of you know, Tom was aviation royalty. His father, Paul, founded the Experimental Aircraft Association. Tom took the controls in 1989 and grew EAA and what later became known as AirVenture into the largest aviation event of its kind in the world. He retired in 2010.
This show, the greatest aviation show on earth, started with his father. You know, I've been coming to this show on and off, mostly on, for 45 years. Became good friends with both of them, and mostly Tom in the last number of years, and traveled with him and had a lot of fun with Tom. And he was quite a showman. We've all benefited by Tom's really diligence and excitement around aviation, all things aviation. His performing times, as a good friend, we're going to miss him, and he made a big difference in our world.
You know, Tom is a man, I always remember, very meticulous. That was his engineering, his background, his education, but he had kind of an impish sense of humor too, which was always fun to come out, how he'd kind of tease some of the people on staff and so forth, and just always enjoyed working with him. And Tom boosted this event from where it was, a gathering of, you know, home builders and EA members, into really America's aviation festival, with everything here from the smallest ultralight up to the C5s and 747s. He drew those people in. The Concorde here, back in the 80s, the Italian aerobatic team in the 90s and so forth. When then Spaceship One, the A380, all of those, and then the exhibitors he brought in. telling those companies, your people are here and you can do business with them. And that made a big difference too.
Tom was an aerobatic pilot. He flew in the Red Devils and Eagles demonstration teams. He was the team that won the U.S. Aerobatic Championships. He was really more an engineer by both training and temperament. Superb manager. He really did grow AirVenture into something truly incredible. But he was a quiet, genuine man, always had something, always was interested in talking to people who came up to meet him. So Tom will certainly be missed.
Yeah, and what a great legacy AirVenture is for him. You know, I've only known AirVenture since I was a child up through now as in what he had made it. Well, the Able Flight Wings Pinning Ceremony is one of the most heartwarming events at AirVenture every year. Able Flight is a nonprofit that funds flight training to aspiring aviators with physical challenges. Now, the ceremony offers Able Flight scholarship recipients who learned to fly in the past year. This year, it was an incredible story of generosity shared at the ceremony. AOPA's Josh Cochran introduces us to Zach Rising.
Wow. Zach Rising loves aviation.
Whenever I fly, I know what I'm doing and stuff, so kind of feels like I'm at home.
Zach flies with his dad, and he started taking flight lessons, but keeping aviation to himself is not enough. He wants to share it. He started raising funds for Able Flight by establishing the Blue 7 Scholarship, named after Blue Angel number 7.
Able Flight means to me is that it lets people who are like me follow their dreams.
And Zach's fundraising efforts were extremely successful.
Zach not only raised funds for 1 year at the full level, he raised enough funds to award 5 scholarships. At the same time, because of nonprofit conflict of interest rules, Zach then became ineligible to ever apply for an Able Flight scholarship. So he did this as a selfless act, and all the more admirable.
And Zach's generosity was honored on the stage at AirVenture. AOPA Air Safety Institute lead Richard McSpadden came on stage to do the honors.
I wanted to present Zach with one of my Thunderbird 1 challenge coins. And so if you don't mind coming to the stage, we'd like to present you with your frame and a Thunderbird challenge coin. Would you welcome Zach Rising, please?
It's ironic because Zach is a huge Blue Angels fan, and Richard was the lead of the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds. Zach was extremely honored nonetheless.
No way. Oh my gosh. I could not believe that. I was blown away.
After his honor from Richard, Zach then pinned the wings on Stephanie Sabello, the first recipient of the Blue 7 Scholarship.
This has humbled me that he sacrificed being a recipient himself so someone like me could become a pilot. And I know I will pay it back forward.
And for Stephanie, the gift of flight is extra meaningful.
It meant getting back to a more normal life. Now it's the most freeing feeling in the world. And every chance that I get, I'm up in the air now.
It means the world to me to give back to the aviation community because they have given a lot to me.
Josh Cochran, AOPA pilot.
I tell you, Zach is such a deserving young man. I tell you, industry, we got to come up with a scholarship for him. He needs to learn to fly.
No, that's true, Alyssa. And you know, AirVenture is where a lot of new or unknown things are revealed. Redbird Flight Simulations is demonstrating a new virtual reality system at the show. Now, with most VR systems, the pilot looks down and can see the yoke moving, but their hands don't show up on the controls. Now, the Redbird system solves that problem. The pilot's hand show up on the virtual controls, making the experience much more realistic. Now, Redbird isn't offering the system yet. Right now, it's just a proof of concept. A vibrant new glass panel from Advanced Flight Systems, the AF6600, features a 60 Hz display, providing a very smooth visual experience. It has a new processor and lots of new features. It's also a direct drop-in replacement for their previous devices.
Everything is very smooth, very clear. It's a brighter display. The colors are more vivid. It's lighter than our old 5600, but it's the exact same mounting, drop-in, and wiring. So you could take an old 5600 out, put it in, and it's completely compatible with all the screens we've made.
The panel itself is $4,690. You can find out more on their website. And Level has a lightweight offering for experimental aircraft. It's a trim tab autopilot that weighs, get this, less than a pound total.
So we have a trim tab based autopilot. Basically, we're using little RC servos.
RC aircraft.
Like this guy. Lots of pilots here that fly RC airplanes are familiar with this technology. And basically, the idea is we're controlling a little trim tab. It's an additional trim tab that you put to the airplane, and that gives us the flexibility to follow a heading or climb to an altitude, but yet give the pilots the power to the airplane. So the trim tab based autopilot has enough control to do what it needs to, but at the end of the day, it's a trim tab, so you can still override it.
Now, the two-axis system is only available for experimental category airplanes, but has different sizes of trim tabs to accommodate different speed ranges. And AirVenture is also a great learning experience. This place is just chock-a-block with seminars, workshops, and forums, and that includes our own AOPA program pavilion. Forums on everything from rusty pilots to backcountry flying to ADSB and weather. Now, one forum that drew a lot of attention was our forum on pilot mental health. Now, that's something that most pilots have been loath to talk about or even acknowledge, but that's changing, and the FAA's approach to it is changing as well.
Mental health conditions were very high on my list and remain high on my list of things we need to address within the FAA. Mild, minimal, moderate depression and anxiety are relatively easy to handle. They may take a little bit to get through our process, but we're even trying to shove some of those decision points down further to the AME.
And you can watch the full forum at the link in the corner or in the description.
And another one of our forums was Standing Room Only, a live recording of our popular Ask the AMPs podcast. 3 very experienced aviation mechanics answer your questions. Ask the AMPs is one of the many great AOPA podcasts. You can find them all at aopa.org/podcasts.
Well, and that's it from Oshkosh for this year. And of course, we've only scratched the surface of what there is to do and see here. I think you'd come here for 20 years in a row, sort of like I have, and still not see everything. Melissa, what are your final thoughts?
Yeah, that's right. One thing that I would love to see and do is bring my family up and just explore KidVenture. I have heard that is something you can just get lost in for days at a time. But I tell you, Warren, my favorite part of AirVenture is always the people. And
absolutely.
We got to talk to you, a lot of our viewers. Got to update you on my family and show you pictures of the kids when you asked, but I got to hear your stories as well, and I thank you for that. It was great meeting you at the show.
Oh yeah, again, one heck of a show. And we'll leave you with one heck of a piece of video. Our colleague Dave Toulis got to go on a very special warbird flight. It was the flight of a lifetime. So, thanks for watching. I hope to see you back here next Friday or next year in Oshkosh. Blue skies, everyone.
What are you about to do, David? Josh, we're getting ready to go fly in one of the warbirds today. This is probably the traditional wake-up call for people at Oshkosh. You're going to hear warbirds like the B-25, the Tiger Cat, the P-51. I'm going to sign my life away real quick. And this is one of the things that we live for. Really looking forward to it. That was so cool. The Tiger Cats is such a rare airplane. They were in formation behind us. It was fantastic. Mindy was with us. We got great photos and video. And we circled the lake Winnebago a few times. It was awesome.